Please welcome back Olivia Wilde.
Wow. Please welcome Terry Real. First of all, I'm so moved that you guys stayed. Thank you for staying and having this conversation with us. I'm very grateful. This is very exciting for me. I feel that I want to introduce this conversation by saying that when we, the cast and our screenwriters, Will and Rashida, were sitting around for 2 weeks at a table in a soundstage, just kind of pouring everything we had into this material, we would invoke Terry several times in that process, and we would argue, and we'd say, no, Terry Real would say something very different about relationships, and that he would never, and then someone else would be like, Esther would totally disagree with that, and it was like, we felt like we had like Terry and Esther as like mom and dad, and it was really exciting for all of us when we heard that Terry was willing to come and have this conversation. So this is a big moment for me, and I'm really honored that you're here. Thank you.
Oh, the honor's all mine. The honor's all, isn't she lovable? Isn't she just so lovable? Okay, ready?
I'm ready, I think.
Okay, so a couple things. One is, I can't do like a regular interview. I'm not a film critic. Let's have a conversation. We just had such a great time at dinner. Let's just keep going. But I do have one question for you. When these folks walk out of here, what do you want them to have? If they do something or have a different conversation than they might have, what would it be?
Well, that's exactly it. My dream would be that they would have a scarier conversation at some point in their lives than they might have before they watched the film, and to also recognize themselves in this movie in a way that we always hope that by recognizing ourselves in movies we'll feel less alone and can laugh at ourselves. But my dream would be that some people recognize that sometimes the scariest conversation in a relationship is the necessary one, whether it leads you to repair or separation, that it's worth it.
Okay, great. So go do that, okay?
Okay, have fun.
She told you to. This is what comes to me. My favorite way of teaching is I sit for 2 days with 5 couples and a few hundred mental health observers. And I go from one couple, work with them for an hour or two. The other couples give them feedback, then the next and the next and the next. The feedback that you get after you've done your work is really moving. And I feel like I did that with your movie. I feel like I was watching a couple. It was like really one giant psychodrama about this couple with this perturbation called Penelope Cruz. By the way, I did say this at dinner, and I said I know that Esther did some coaching to Penelope for the role. If you ever need Penelope Cruz to be coached by anybody about anything, just give me a call.
I will. She would be so happy.
Oh, good. All right, now, so I want to give you feedback the way the couple give each other feedback about what I saw.
Yes.
And then I'll talk to you.
Great.
One of the first things I want to, before I think as a therapist, but just watching the film, I really want to appreciate your craft. You are a beautiful craftsman. And I saw it twice. Every minute of that film is not wasted. You are the queen of double entendre. So, I mean, the popping of the cork. Here's a line from the film. Penelope Cruz says to them, "We forget to remember what we deserve." Boy, as a couples therapist, I could put that on my, we forget to remember what we deserve. And that's what they were a force for. I also want to say, energetically, you talk a lot about energy in a movie, you know how to have a good time. And
True.
You all look like you were having a great time in the movie.
The best time, and I think that it was because we were approaching this very vulnerable material together by pouring in so much of ourselves and our DNA into the pot. And everyone was very aware that there was a certain amount of vulnerability and you know, they say great art is confession, which sounds kind of pretentious, but I feel like I understand it for the first time, that it should feel risky, it should feel revealing. And certainly we became so trusting of each other that it felt like we were really revealing a lot to each other based on experiences or fears or dreams. And it was very singular as a kind of environment and process. I think because we were all four genuinely interested in investigating what happens when people are kind of forced to confront, and especially when they have kind of made themselves so vulnerable to something like, like openness sexually, that they become so vulnerable and then so immediately kind of closed off, which then just breaks and shatters into a million pieces, which allows them to be actually open. But it was such an interesting experience, and because we were shooting it in order, it felt like this very natural unraveling of all of our guardedness.
Well, you did an amazing thing for us as the audience, if I can say. I thought I was going to, your movies are all so smart. I thought I was going through a really smart romp into polyamory. And, you know, we were all going to take off our clothes and fuck, and it was going to be great. And all of a sudden, the tone changes, the plot changes. And honestly, Olivia, I sat there and thought, oh, we're after bigger game than that. And it just moved to a depth that, and you took us there with all the sort of fun and frivolity, but then you also took us into the depth. So here's what I want to say as a couples therapist. Ed Tronick, the great infant observational researcher, said something about parents and infants that I now adopted for adults. All relationships are an endless dance of harmony, disharmony, and repair. Closeness, disruption. If you're lucky, a return to closeness. Our culture doesn't acknowledge that disharmony, and we certainly don't acknowledge how awful it is. But it's awful, and that's normal. You know, you are talking to the guy who coined the phrase normal marital hatred. And I've been talking about that for 30 years around the world, and not once has somebody come backstage and said, what do you mean by that? So this is a movie, to me, about harmony, disharmony, and repair. You're not sure they're going to stay together, which I thought.
Oh, yeah. Well, so one of the big questions that I love to ask people at the end of the film was whether or not you think they stay together. And I'll tell you that Seth and I had opposing views on this, which is appropriate. I do not think they stay together. Seth firmly believes they stay together. And
hey, let's take a vote.
Oh yeah, let's take a vote.
Okay, how many of you think they're going to stay together? Raise your hands.
Oh, is that a majority? I'm not very.
How many
good
think
at
they're
that.
going to break up?
Wow!
Whoa!
Oh, this is so interesting.
And those of you who think they're going to stay together, and those of you who think they're going to break up, did you walk in together tonight, the two? And are you walking out?
You could separate and find the person who agrees with you. It really, it's so interesting you bring up the disharmony, because to me it's about, if they stay together, it's about understanding that the scary disharmony they've been avoiding has been the poison. Avoidance has been the poison. That they've been operating in this kind of aggressive tension of barbs and kind of separating, never seeing each other. And they could exist like that for a long time. Like, I think if Penelope and Edward, if Pina and Hawk hadn't come over for dinner, they might have stayed just like that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I always wondered when I was playing the character whether Angela knew this was disruptive or if she didn't realize it would be disruptive.
Well, she was walking through that window, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was walking through that window.
Also, just, it's never the girls you think it's going to be. You know what I mean? It's like you don't expect that from her. And yet, I'm really proud of her that she, like Pina, I feel proud of her for maintaining that kind of eroticism that Joe cannot fathom and is so threatened by.
So both of these were stuck. Each of them as individuals were stuck. And they as a couple were stuck. And we have to do this because you asked me at dinner, a stair goes this way, I go the opposite way. So many of you, of course, know Esther Perel. I call her my sister in crime. She is about too much familiarity, too brotherly, sisterly, get some strangeness, mystery. I go the opposite direction. That's all true. And I believe couples stop being sexual when they stop telling the truth to each other. Mm. I believe that when you don't lean in and take each other on, which is just what you were talking about, the first casualty is passion. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, a lot of times people don't take each other on because when they try, it doesn't work very well. So this is where learning some skills comes in.
Right.
But you know that Audrey Hepburn, the couple at the table who has nothing to say to each other, I never want to be that couple. I always say, it's not that they have nothing to say to each other, it's that they have too much to say to each other and no way of saying it. Mm-hmm. And so when couples don't have what I call fierce intimacy, when they stop leaning in and dealing with each other, you tell yourself you're settling, but as you can see with them, you're really resenting the hell out of it. And that leaks out in lack of creativity, eroticism. Why I think they're staying together is because they rediscovered, erotic means love, connection, and creativity. And he rediscovered his eroticism when he sat down at the piano. And then, it was so beautiful, imperfect as it was, they do an erotic duet at the piano together, and it's very, very touching. So I think this movie starts off with them being erotically stuck and ends with them being erotically in motion. I'm more of an optimist.
I love that because in motion doesn't mean perfect, but it's unstuck. And if you're in motion, there's hope.
Yeah. W.H. Auden, I will love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart. One of the things I say, Olivia, is we long for the divine. We really want gods and goddesses to complete us. And that we're stuck with, I talk about dealing with the partner you have instead of the one you deserve. When we're stuck with this woefully imperfect person, it really sticks in the craw, but that's the guts of what real intimacy is. That's intimacy versus an AI program.
Okay, but my counter to that would be, how do you know whether you are putting up with someone who you shouldn't? Should Angela stick it out with Joe, even though he so doesn't, I would argue, appreciate so much of how she's devoted her life to him and how much she sacrificed?
Like, what do you do all day?
That I was saying the most devastating line to me is when he says, what do you do all day? And she's like, I've given up my entire sense of self. It's very intentional that her shirt is the same color as the walls because she's literally disappeared into this home and kind of given up her entire personality for him, really, meaning for this life they built together. But the devastating kind of abandonment of him not recognizing that.
Okay, so should she stay with, what were you about to say?
Yeah, should she stay with him and like deal with the partner you have, like really kind of like dig in, Or how should she know when to bail? If you have your philosophy, then how do you know when to call it?
Okay, first, you got to push him. She hasn't been pushing him.
Right.
So she doesn't know what this car will do because she never put pedal to the metal. So lean in and take him on with skill. 2, if she doesn't get through, go find a therapist, and not a neutral. That's why I like my school, relational life therapy. Find a therapist who will back you up and say, hey, Seth Rogen, whatever, you're not appreciating her. She's right. Get an ally who will help you get through to him. And then if none of that happens, I have a tool. You want to hear?
Yes.
Okay. Should I stay or go?
Yeah.
The tool is, I call it a relational reckoning, and it's a question. Do I get enough in this relationship to make grieving what I'm not getting worth my while? Let me say it again. Am I getting enough to make the pain of what I'm not getting okay with me? And if the answer is yes, stop walking around like a big resentful victim. They're both toxic with resentment. And embrace what you are getting. Enough already. If the answer is no, after you've tried, after therapy, then get out. But don't put up with what you shouldn't put up with. You'll get sick. It's not good for the kids. I love what Penelope Cruz said about that. It's not good for the kids.
It's funny how kind of dangerous that felt, even in today's world, to say in the film. There's some audiences where it's palpable the kind of discomfort in that conversation, that the idea that you're doing your child a disservice by staying and steeping them in this tension. People still have a really hard time with that concept, that it might be better for the child to separate. It's very uncomfortable for people.
Look, the research is really clear. Even the most conservative people say if there's open hostility and fighting, it's better for the kid if you split up. If it's more like chronic misery, quiet misery, is it better or not? Line up 6 therapists, you'll get 40 answers. Here's the thing. If you split up, your kid suffers through the divorce. That's real, that's a hurt. If you don't split up, ready? You pass on this model of what intimacy looks like. So they'll either be you, the long-suffering one, or they'll be the asshole that you're putting up with. They'll either marry the asshole or they'll be the asshole, but they will not be healthy. So divorce, horrible. Bequeathing that legacy, horrible. Which is the right thing to do? It's up to you, but there's no easy answer.
This film in some ways seems to me, maybe my very lofty dream for it would be that maybe we can take the horrible out of separation so that there could be a recognition of the need for separation without the destruction.
That would be lovely, and of course, it's more the norm these days. The quote-unquote intact family, 2.2 kids, blah, blah, blah. That is not most American kids' lives anymore.
Well, it almost feels like, we were saying how less and less people are getting married now and having kids now, and it makes sense. They are aware of the statistics. They're aware of how difficult it is. And maybe if divorce wasn't always just like absolutely horrific and violent emotionally, would people be more optimistic and kind of brave about going for it, falling in love, blending families, making that leap, if there was this understanding that like if this doesn't work, it doesn't have to be this like vicious thing.
I mean, that's the side I'm on, and other people could be on other. My friend Michelle Weiner Davis is like marriage no matter what.
It's so interesting though, because like a concept that was born out of this like puritanical, like basic distrust of pleasure and need for structure, and it, does it make sense in the modern world? Like, it amazes me. There's weddings every day, and I'm like, wow, going for it. Like, it's amazing. It's like if 50% of planes crashed, would we still be getting on planes as much?
Okay, but here's the thing. Yes, if that's where it goes, that's where it goes. Better would be to go for it in the marriage. So, to quote my beloved Esther, I'll do her, French Belgium. In my life, I expect to have 6 marriages, and I hope they are all to the same man.
Right, which is a beautiful concept. I loved that. I mean, that was why it's in the film. It was so moving to me, the idea that you can have a new relationship with the same person, because it also allows you to have a new relationship with yourself. And I'm such a fan of this idea of allowing for personal growth and change. And I think that if we allow, we'd be more gracious with ourselves and our partners if change was expected. Will you repeat the French saying you just said to me in the car about change?
Yes. You want it? This is an old French proverb, and then I'll do a French proverb. Women marry men hoping they will change. They don't. Men marry women hoping they won't change. They do.
I mean,
that's because they get disappointed.
It's interesting, and I know that's only
I can't
hetero couples, but I'm really curious. Like, it's really interesting. Is that all couples? Does everyone marry everyone hoping they'll change?
I don't know. I collect cartoons, though. There was a cartoon of a very nice couple, middle-aged couple, with their obvious grown daughter at dinner with the abominable snowman. And the caption read, "I know, Mom, but he'll change."
Yeah. And it's so optimistic and kind of beautiful that we have this hopefulness. And that's what I mean about like the airplane analogy, which I admit is like really dark and twisted and says a lot about how I think about relationships. But also, I think that, you know, it's an incredibly optimistic thing to do in pessimistic times. The idea of leaping into love, whether you're getting married with government paperwork or just going for it with people. Like, we have all this data that shows that it's really, really, really difficult, and yet people go for it. And I think that's incredible, and it's beyond a biological need, because some people aren't doing it to procreate. We go for it.
Go for it in your marriage, which means risking it. You can't be safe and passionate at the same time. Let me say that again. You want to be safe, stay in bed all day.
Right.
I hate the current thing, and couples say, "Oh, we need a safe relationship. You need to be safe." Bullshit. We're mortal. One of you will leave the other unless you both die. There's nothing safe about this. I call it, let the bad thing happen. Take the risk. Bring your partner to the mats. You're going to lose them anyway if you don't.
Right.
So,
what's an example of a risk that's like a wise risk in a relationship? Is it having the difficult conversation? Is that the risk?
Listen, how many times do I get this? I've got an appointment next Thursday with this couple's therapist. You may be happy with the way things are, but I'm not. I expect you to get your butt into that therapist's chair, or I'm going to be even more unhappy with you than I am already, which is plenty.
Okay, what about people who can't afford therapy?
Who can't afford therapy?
Can't afford therapy. Yeah, what do they do if they want the same, if they're willing to do the hard thing, which is like confront safely? How do they do that without a guide?
I don't know. I'm not a social policy guy. There's so much I can do, but I will say this. If you go to RLT, we have a bank of therapists who will see people for whatever they can afford.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's part of our community service.
I just think there's so many people who, they have a sense that they want more, they deserve more, and they don't know, they don't have the language because we're not given the language. And particularly, like, there's these college students I met with today said, we were raised with these ideal versions of relationships, and that's what we were told to expect. And what they said they liked about the movie was that they recognized that it wasn't ideal, and that felt refreshing to them as an example of a relationship that was potentially more realistic. And I wonder if, as storytellers, if we tell more stories about kind of not flawed, complicated love, then people's expectations might be more realistic or healthier.
You're real, baby. This is real. I listened to the two of them bicker, and I thought, she was listening at 3 a.m. to me and Belinda that night last week. I'll tell you this. I will say to you, and I really do mean this, what someone wrote of Chekhov. Someone said of him, he sees his people the way God does. Oh. And you see these people with great truth and great love in your eye, both at the same time. Yeah, give her a hand for that.
Oh, that's so nice. I love also asking people after the movie, like, who are you? Are you a Pina? Are you a Hawk? Are you a Joe? Are you an Angela? And it's funny because in some ways I am definitely all four. And I have tremendous respect for Hawk for being willing to change his life, that he went through this experience and found the kind of space for a new identity. Pina is just endlessly appealing and wise and interesting and open, and such a great example to me of a woman who's so kind of powerful and sexually realized, but also such a woman's woman, like a real ally. And then, Joe, I empathize with him because if someone ambushed me with a social situation, I would be so fucking mad. I can't imagine anything worse than a dinner party I don't want to be a part of.
But he's truthful.
Yes.
I'm with Ed Norton on that. I love you because you're so truthful.
Yes.
And when the character says to him, I love you, and this is so him, the other character, oh yeah, what do you love about me? It's like he's not going to be bought off. So he has his qualities.
The saddest thing to me about Joe is when he says, this is my life and nothing's going to change. So yes, I'm miserable. The thing to me that's so sad is he really believes nothing will change. He has decided this is his permanent state, and he's just sort of withstanding it forever. And that, to me, is the real tragedy. The idea that people have decided there is no opportunity for change.
Well, that's what you would have to take them on about. You're fucking miserable. You're comfortable in your misery. You ain't moving. It's what I call taking a victim position. I'm not responsible. Forces larger than me are responsible. And I talk about miserable, comfortable, happy, uncomfortable. You got a man cave like with sectionals, and you are comfortable in your misery. Guess what? I don't want to live with you like that. I wrote a book about I wrote the first book on male depression, and I said, this is not a time for the partner to go do it yourself. This is a time for a partner to say, you don't want to get help, we're going to a couples therapist. If you want to live this way, that's okay with you, but I'm not going to. So that would be her work with him. Get uncomfortable.
It's so interesting because, Angela has this obsession with podcasts, and he says, is this from a podcast? She's always quoting podcasts to him. She's finding real solace, I think, in podcasts, like maybe some of us maybe do sometimes. And the interesting thing is Joe needs kind of treatment. He needs to just kind of go into his depression, but he has shame about it. And it's because he doesn't feel he deserves his house. It was his parents' house. He has real imposter syndrome about his life and I think his relationship. And so he doesn't think he deserves help. Do you think, in terms of male depression, do you think a lot of the issues you see in relationships have to do with men feeling shame about their depression and not being kind of open to really diving into that?
Well, the essence of traditional masculinity is the denial of vulnerability. The more vulnerable you are, the more girly you are, that's a bad thing. The more invulnerable, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Superman, no softness anywhere. Women, now empowered, are insisting on connection from their guys. You can't be invulnerable and connected at the same time. So we're really asking men, and I say this explicitly, nothing less than to reconfigure masculinity itself by learning how to open their hearts and connect to people. But you know what, buddy? You're starving inside that armor. It's in your interest. Let me show you how to do it. But a guy like Seth Rogen, Joe, he could probably need a little help.
You could see it even when he's alone with Pina. What he's getting from her is the sense of, I think, unconditional safety, that he could say anything, he could move. Even the way he's moving with her at the end, to me, that always meant that he feels safe with her. And I love when he asks her when they're smoking the joint together, and he's like, how do you know when it's over? It's like the most vulnerable thing Joe has said in years. Yeah. But she has this way of making you feel accepted unconditionally, and I think that's her
affair
power.
partners are great in that regard. I often say people think people have affairs for sex. Sex comes after kindness and attention. And we seduce each other with that attentive compassion.
Absolutely. And I also feel like it's people cheat not because of the partner they're supposed to be with. They cheat because someone else makes them feel better about themselves. That there's like the way that someone else makes them feel, makes them think higher of themselves. So it's this feeling, like you can see it in Joe, he has this kind of confidence around Pina that yes, if left kind of unchecked, I believe those two probably would have ended up, if he hadn't tripped over his own pants. I do think there was a burgeoning love story there. I think Pina would have been like, oh, I'm not here for love, honey. That's not how I do it. This is just fun. But I think he would have fallen madly in love with her because it would have felt like this safe space, and he would have felt better about who he was in her presence. And I think Hawk making Angela feel like an artist makes her feel better about who she is in his presence. And I think they're sort of not so much attracted to someone else. They're attracted to who they are around someone else, which you can see. And the audience is funny. At a certain point, you can feel the audience like kind of wanting them to end up with these other people. It's like, oh, it's cute they both love rugs. That would be nice for them to go rug shopping. But would it ultimately be too redundant in one relationship? Is it like, yeah, but you don't want the person who likes the exact same shit you do.
We have to end up being told, but even the super couple, Penelope and had a fight with each other. And I could tune into, I'll bet they have some rip-roaring fights, those two. What are they going to look like 10 years from now? So
my favorite thing about that fight is how she keeps repeating, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. And it was really funny because each of us has one chance to say shut the fuck up to him, which poor Hawk. Joe says it, she says it 6 times, and then I say it when he brings me the rooibos, which is so mean. But I think that Hawk, in the end, is like the most evolved of all of them. Just an evolved firefighter.
We're being told we have to stop.
Okay, thank you for being a part of our couples therapy.
Terry Real, everybody. Olivia Wilde. Terry Real, Olivia Wilde. The movie's The Invite. It comes out in July in Boston. See it at Independent Theater. Thank you so much for coming out this year. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.